Need to improve your club on Ultimate Team? Check out IGGM for safe and reliable coins with the link in the description. Get an extra 5% discount with code NA. What's good, y'all? In this video, I'm going to show you guys the 4-2-3 run that I've been using so far in the past few weeks. This formation is a very well-rounded formation because it's really good in possession, build-up, and counter-attacking as well. But this is a formation that I can use very often because I don't have to worry about how my opposition player is playing. It's a really versatile formation. I can use this formation whenever the other team is playing very, very aggressive in terms of build-up. They're very attacking. They're very willing to build up the ball. And I can also use this formation when the other team is letting me attack and sitting back and defending. I don't have any actual formations that counter this formation. And enough being said, let's go straight into the formation with this being my squad. Don't mind it, obviously. It's a squad that I've been doing for farming objectives, but you can go straight to custom tactics and you're going to notice that I have it set to defensive. And my defensive style for this formation is going to be balanced with 60 depth and 40 width. And that's basically the default trio that you're going to use on formations like this. And most formations to begin with, a lot of the meta formations like 4-2-2-2, 4-2-3-1, 4-3-2-1, you're going to notice that you're going to see exactly 40 width, 60 depth on balance. You can use 71 depth, however, if you're a less skilled player, I would recommend you use 60 depth instead because it's a lot more conservative. It's a lot easier to handle, especially against players that are pretty good attacking. So if you're less experienced, I would suggest you use 60. Or if you just want to defend with less pressure and less anxiety, I would definitely use 60. Build up play balance with chance creation direct passing with 44 width. This is pretty self-explanatory at this point. If you've played FIFA for the majority of this year, you're going to understand that direct passing is what maximizes the amount of passes that you can give to players, as well as making enough runs and just being an overall versatile setup. You're going to see a lot of through runs, and you're also going to see a lot of players coming short for the ball. And then you're going to see 44 width. And if you pay attention to my FIFA videos in terms of formations, you're going to notice that I use a lot of random numbers instead of like using like 45, 50, or 40, things like that. There's not an exact particular reason. However, I do this on purpose to find like little like kinks or whatever in the formation or in the width value where I can find like a little perfect amount. So I typically per game, like I tweak it a little bit based on what I can see. And from what I've seen, I found 44 to be my favorite. And 5 players in the box for a reason, because you're going to have only a max of 5 players that you need to attack, and this is a very balanced formation, so we want to make sure this formation isn't prone to the counterattacks. And then corners and free kicks is absolutely self-preference. Going straight to instructions, you're going to see your striker, stay central, and getting behind, stay forward. This player right here is going to be primarily focused on just being a goal scorer. You don't have to do much with this player. All you need to do with this player is trust that he's good enough to hold the ball and shoot the ball. So you can have any type of striker here. You can have a small man, or you can have a big guy like Holland. It's really up to you. Just make sure that you can trust him to have the ball at his feet and not be too clunky, but primarily just shoot and be really fast for those through runs. The reason why I say that is because this player is going to make a lot of through runs, and you're going to notice that with this formation, there's going to be a lot of scrambled attackers making confusing runs for the other team. So you're going to have a lot of open runs for the striker right here. So especially on the counterattack. So you're going to want a player that can really survive against center backs, and Holland would be a pretty decent one, especially with his quick step plus. You can also have someone like Mbappe here, or generally anyone that can beat their center backs pretty easily. And if you have the skill to operate skill moves, then absolutely use whatever player you can get your hands on that can beat the fullback or the center back. Your cam is going to be on stay forward, primarily because this player is basically like an extra player. He's going to be like a number 10, you know, like a Mesut Ozil or something like that. He's going to be a creative attacker who's going to drop short. He's still going to be, even with stay forward, he's still going to be available when you receive the ball on the counter attack, because he's not going to be like right next to the striker if you think that's what's going to happen. However, he's just going to be primarily focused on attacking. This is because the 2-man midfield behind him is going to be good enough to defend by themselves, because you're already going to have enough defenders without the cam, so you don't really need his help. And then also like a bonus tip is that if you get a red card, this is the player that you want to remove from the team and sub out, because like I said, you have to remember the number 10 is always like an extra bonus player. And then your 2 wingers, we're going to refer to them as wingers for the rest of this formation, but they're not actually wingers. Just keep that in mind. One of them is going to be on comeback on defense. The other one is going to be on basic defense support. Everything else is going to be on default. That's going to be really odd. However, I'm going to explain to you why we do this. Primarily because when you're defending, we're going to want one player to come all the way back and be an extra passing option. The reason, because these 2 center mids might be too busy defending and marking players that when you get the ball back, they're going to be tightly marked. Having a player that's going to be short but not really contesting a player is going to be really, really helpful for the counter attack. And then having another player primarily focused on just going up for the field and primarily focused on doing what the AI instructs it to, because it's on basic defense support, so it's probably going to drop back 2, or it's probably just going to stay up depending on context. It's asymmetrical. I understand that might be a little bit unnerving or uncomfortable to use. However, asymmetrical formations I've been using often this FIFA. The 4-3-2-1, that's the meta, is asymmetrical. Other formations this FIFA are asymmetrical, so I would highly suggest you try this out. If you're not comfortable, or if you're not really feeling like it's working out for you, you can try both on comeback on defense, or you can try both on basic defense support. It's not really a deal breaker whichever you use. I just preferred having one on comeback on defense, and I don't like having two on comeback on defense because that's a little too it's almost too ratty for me, because you're having like way too many defenders and you're not going to be able to advance the ball up the field that much. And then you're going to have two midfielders. One midfielder is going to be a number 8 that's going to focus on primarily being like a more attacking midfielder, and then you're going to have another midfielder that's going to be a straight CDM. The attacking oriented player is going to be the player obviously with better attacking stats, and he's going to be on cut passing lanes, balanced attack, and cover center. And then your CDM is going to be on cut passing lanes, stay back while attacking, cover center. Now the thing with the more attacking oriented player is that balanced attack is completely dependent on his work rates. So if you have a player with high-low, you're going to notice that he might be a big liability in the build-up because he's not going to be dropping back as often as he needs to. So a player of high is going to be very, very important for this position right here. So ideally a player like Bellingham, or someone with just overall someone that's well-rounded and has high is going to be perfect for this. And then your CDM right here is going to be a player that is going to be primarily focused on being an anchor for his defense. So he's going to need really good passing stats since he's going to be in front of the defense and he's going to represent them in terms of passing the ball. And he's also going to be really important for interceptions, overall defending. So a player like Toure or a player like Conte, a player of that archetype is going to be perfect for this position right here. Just keep in mind that this guy's job overall is just to defend and basically operate as an extra defender, since he's going to be in front of the center backs at all times. He's not going to really be attacking as much, so if he has poor attacking stats, you can get away with this. You could even get away with having a player like a center back right here as well, if you want to experiment with that. He doesn't have to be too good on dribbling or anything like that. He just needs to be a really good defender. And then your two fullbacks, they're going to be on stay back while attacking and overlap. The reason why we have them on overlap is primarily because with overlap, it's not necessarily the fact that they're going to run and make an overlap, or however, they're just going to be instructed to stay as wide as possible. That's because of the fact that, cutbacks are really, really strong and things like that still. Overlap is going to keep them close to the touchline as far as possible, which prevents them from just dragging into the midfield whenever there's an attack or whatever. We want them to be right next to that defender, their center back, however still being close to the touchline and not really drifting away from that position. That way on the counterattack, you're going to have a straight 4-man defense and you're not going to have to worry about big spaces in the back. And then your two center backs stay back while attacking, and your keeper depends on what you want to do, but honestly I don't think I see a gameplay difference, but you can put them on comes for crosses and sweeper keeper. I was able to go through these instructions really fast, primarily because this formation is basically like one of the only formations where all you have to do is the bare minimum when it comes to instructions. That's primarily because with 3 cams, this formation excels in just letting the AI do its own thing. And that own thing is specifically the unique player movements that come with having 3 cams. To be specific, with 3 cams, this allows for a lot of different runs because cams are the cam position is a formation that allows the player to roam around the pitch a lot. It's also one of the only positions to have instructions for it to specifically focus on running the spaces that are open and opened by other players. This becomes really strong when you have to realize that when one cam drags a player out of his position, drags a defender out of their position, another cam is going to come right into that spot in the attack. When you're having unique player runs like this in combinations, you're going to notice that in the attack, in the final third, you're going to be able to get quick build-up and quick counterattacks, primarily because there's so many windows being opened and so many runs being made, so many unique runs, diagonal runs, and you're going to notice that you're getting into the opposition's box really fast. This will be really, really effective against teams with high depth, including 71 depth, because the harder the defensive line is, the more likely your team can get through balls in behind. If you have pacey attackers, players like Mbappe or other players with quick step plus or rapid plus, which will be players that can beat the defenders 9 times out of 10, you'll basically get free goal scoring chances on through balls. Additionally, this formation will excel at building up from gaining possessions, as the cams are midfielders at heart. You have to remember that. So that means when you get the ball in defense, you'll notice that those cams are going to be oriented towards being able to get the ball at their feet and while coming short. This is different than formations with actual wingers, because those actual wingers tend to be right by the touchline or right by where the other team's fullback is, which can be hard to get the ball to them on the counterattack because you would have to pass around their other team's midfield, because that winger is often, their passing lane is going to be blocked off by the other team's midfield, if that makes sense. With that being said, in conclusion, this 4-2-3-1 is a really well-rounded formation, as it's clearly designed to counterattack efficiently while still being really good and breaking down the opposition's defense in slow build-up scenarios, which is why this formation is really, really good if you don't really know what formations to use. So this is a really good formation to start the game, and also the really good formation to break down a game when you don't know what the other team's really doing. And like always, if you guys have any questions, feel free to leave. And like always, if this formation worked out for you, if you've noticed that your performance is improving, feel free to drop a sub and like the video. And if you have any questions for me, drop a comment and I'll be sure to respond as soon as I can. And that's all for this video.
Dude, you know I went 20-0 champs because of your formation, bro. You know how far that shit got me?
Oh my god.
All right, I really love this 4-2-3-1. It was a great formation. I had some wonderful games.
Oh,
Unfortunately,
easy.
I